Welcome to the grand finale of Expo 21. In today's session, we focus on sourcing the future, the innovation that will help us to take sustainability in the fashion industry to scale. I'm delighted to partner with PDS Multinational for this session, one of the largest suppliers in the world and deeply committed to sustainability and ethical best practice, both in their own operations and through investing in and backing the initiatives across the industry that are making a difference. Over the course of the last 10 days, we've had over 2,000 people register to attend 11 events, all putting the spotlight on best practice. From one end of the supply chain to the other, from the largest brands to the most inspiring entrepreneurs, we've brought together a global community to collaborate to address some of the biggest issues facing fashion today. I'm going to start this session with an introduction to some of those big issues that we face as a global fashion community. And the rest of the event will focus on the way we solve them, including blue sky thinking, along with work on the ground, both by pioneers and major businesses. So in this session, we have some incredible people contributing. We have Pallak Seth, the founder and vice chair of PDS Multinational. A real privilege to have him in the room, a pioneer in the space. Myself, I'm CEO and founder of Common Objective. We also have Melanie Wilson joining us. She's Senior Director of Sustainability at George Clothing, one of the second largest volume manufacturer of clothing in the UK, so a major player. We also have Jack Ostrowski, who's founder and CEO of innovative solution Yellow Octopus Group. And we have Thomas Mueller, Managing Director of Zamira Fashion, who'll tell us more about denim innovation. Now, we do have other speakers in the space during the session. We hope to hear from some of you too, but we'll be hearing from exhibitors as well. The agenda for today, I'm going to start with an overview of some of the big issues facing the industry. We'll then hear introductions from Pallak and from Jack. And we'll have a Q&A, which will be between Pallak and Melanie around who've worked together for several years, and there's some really exciting outcomes as a result. I'll then pass to our head of suppliers, Andy, who will introduce some of the suppliers, have a short, brief chance to talk about themselves and what they're doing. These are the innovative businesses that have been invested in by PDS. We'll then move into breakout sessions. So that's your chance to connect, share what you're doing, ask questions, find out more, get your questions answered, and then we'll wrap up in the main room. So just a couple of things to tell you relating to how you can make the most of this event. So please say who you are in the chat, share where you're from and what you're interested in. If you have questions, post them. This is the chance for the participants, the speakers, to answer them. And connect and bookmark. So one of the great things about these events is that they're part of Common Objective. So Common Objective is a global community which brings together over 45,000 members now. And we're a tech solution. So we are able to support, operates a little bit like a LinkedIn for sustainable fashion. If you're not already a member, please do join. You can do so in 2 minutes while you're listening to this. And if you do so, when you sign up, it'll ask you a couple of things about you and what you're looking for, what you have to sell or what you have to offer. And as a result, you have a matching profile. So when you land on our dashboard, you'll get matched with individuals, buyers, suppliers, experts, information. We have over 300 resources on the site. You can connect and message with anybody on the site, and you'll see that we'll be posting co-profiles for individuals and businesses throughout this session so that you can connect with them there. You can create a business profile, whether you're a business large or small. You can create a profile. All of the businesses we're representing have profiles on Co. It allows you to present what you do. And one of the exciting things about Co for me is that our mission is to turn sustainability from a cost to an opportunity. So we do that through our ranking. The more sustainable your business, the higher its search ranking on the site and the more views and customers you'll gain. And finally, resources and training, over 300 resources on the site. Again, we'll be posting some of those during the session. So moving on quickly to some context to today. what are the big issues facing the fashion industry? So I'm going to share with you some of the challenges, and then we're going to hear from our innovators how these are being resolved. Waste is a massive issue for the fashion industry. An estimated 92 million tons of textile waste is created annually, and fewer than 1% of garments are recycled into new clothing, with only 20% of textiles recycled at all. Again, we'll hear more about what we can do about that. Emissions. If the fashion industry was a country, it would be the world's fourth larger emitter of CO2. And while production and transportation contribute significantly, buildings account for nearly 50%. So the way that factories operate in the fashion industry really matters. Microfibers. The European Commission estimates that between 70,000 and 200,000 tons of microplastics enter the environment each year, and over a third, 35% of them, are released from synthetic textiles. So this is a big issue and a big problem that the industry needs to collaborate to solve, and we'll hear more about that in this session. Living wages. Social issues are far more on the agenda post-COVID, and it's estimated that less than 2% of the people who make the clothes we wear earn a living wage. And that suggests that 98% of workers are likely to be living in poverty. And finally, cancelled orders. So COVID-19 has highlighted just how much further the industry has to travel in addressing justice. And a huge number of fashion companies cancelled or refused to pay. Now, the interesting thing that we've seen throughout Co-Expo is that the trend we've seen is that brands and suppliers committed to sustainability did not cancel orders. And again, we'll hear more about that soon. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Pallak Seth, who's going to tell us a little bit more about PDS Multinational.
Thank you very much, Tamsin, and thank you, Melanie, for taking the time to join us on this webinar today. So I'll just briefly introduce PDS and then looking forward to the Q&A session after this to talk more about if any questions anyone might have. So next slide, please. Yeah. So PDS, was founded in 1999. So we are around a 22-year-old company. We've evolved from being a single business unit to being a large global fashion supply chain player. We are around $1.5 billion in revenue. We've got operation in 22 countries, and we are supported by some large working capital limits from some of the best banks around the world. So we are a global organization. Wherever our customers are based, we've got offices servicing them on design, on technical support, on order management, and the key sourcing manufacturing locations. We've got large teams managing quality, compliance, order processing. So we truly control our supply chain and give an end-to-end solution to our customers. So as a company, we're working with around 200 leading global brands and retailers. Most of our customers are either Fortune 500 or FTSE 100 companies. And our biggest markets are UK, Germany, and US. So there are three big markets we focus on our supply chain business. So PDS on sustainability, this has been an agenda that's very near and dear to how we operate. PDS came with 4 key aspects of focus on sustainability. Our goals are aligned to the UN development goals. So, these 4 aspects, which are respect water, build community, think circular, and reduce emission, resonate very closely with the challenges and opportunities that are there in the global fashion industry. So we chose these 4 out of the 17 UN Global Development Goals to be PDS goals in the fashion supply chain business. Next slide, please. So PDS is quite a unique business model. We as a company call ourselves as a platform. The job of the platform is to do financing, banking, legal, HR, admin, compliance. All the common functions are controlled centrally in PDS. On the platform, we've got around 50 businesses. Each business is owned and operated by an entrepreneur who's got a partnership in that company with us. So this makes our business model extremely agile, extremely entrepreneurial, and quick decision making. So even being a sizable company, we are very agile and very entrepreneurial in our nature. Also, we're a design-led business. We employ close to 150 designers in the key markets we operate. So we offer a complete solution to our customers on design development and sourcing from the key fashion sourcing locations around the world. Next slide, please. So PDS decided to invest in our own manufacturing around 5-6 years ago now. So, as a company, we've invested close to $60 million in our own factories. We've set up plants in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. So, because our investment in manufacturing has been pretty recent, we made sure that our factories are completely sustainable. They've got high automation in them. They're LEED certified plants. And also, the way they're operated, there is a lot of investment in new technology on wash plants. So the environmental impact of these factories is minimal compared to some of the old age factories that are there. So they're 21st century ready factories, that will probably be relevant in the next 10 to 15 years. So that's the reason we decided to invest some of our own manufacturing plants in these two key locations. Thank you. Next slide, please. So digitization is a key aspect of how the industry is moving, especially post-COVID. There was hardly any travel possible. So the industry was able to use digitization as a tool, and it's becoming now one of the sticking things that, even post-COVID is become an industry standard practice. So I would say the advantage of digitization in sampling and product development we have seen, one, it definitely reduces the lead time. It increases our conversion rate, so we don't have to do wasteful sampling. Obviously, with less sampling, there's less carbon footprint that's coming, and also leads to quicker decision making. So, having digitization of sampling is actually a big step forward. A lot of people are talking about it over the last few years, but finally with COVID, this is something that seems here to stay. And PDS as a company has got a big digital hub, offering all our customers digital solutions and partnering with them in this agenda. So next slide, please. So impact, when we talk about sustainability has to have an impact. So, there are just few examples we, wanted to put up here. So our Sri Lankan operation, we've putting the investment in that in the next 5 to 6 years, the entire operation making around $60 million of babyware will be completely carbon neutral. So the steps in the investment we are making by having solar panels in the factory, water regeneration, and all the steps we are taking for sourcing the fabric from also plants which are completely sustainable. We are looking at an opportunity to make our Sri Lankan operation completely net positive, renewable, and carbon neutral by in the next 5 to 6 years. Another example is our own factory in Bangladesh, Progress Apparel, where we've come up with boilers. So any waste that is coming out of the cutting and any waste garments are actually recycled by using them for the boiler to create electricity for the factory. So there's hardly any waste coming out of the factory, because anything is left over is regenerated within the factory to produce electricity. So, that's also, I think, a really great impact that we found. And the initial investment was there, but within 18 months, we'll be able to pay back the capital expenditure of putting that kind of generators and boilers in the factory. Similarly, in our factory, another factory we have in Bangladesh, Green Smart Shirts, we put solar panels. So electricity is going to come from solar, and also all the glass in the factory, because it's a factory having a lot of glass to make sure that the environment in the factory is sustainable. So it's good working conditions for the workers, and it's very comfortable for 4,000 workers in that plant. Because of the small step like using ambient glass in the factory. And finally, as a company, we are trying to see how to look at living wage, because living wage is a very important aspect of how the industry moves. We will cover some more of that in the Q&A sessions we will do with Tamsin. But, some of the steps you are taking around efficiencies and productivity increase in the factories are ensuring that the workers working in our factories are getting paid a higher salary than the industry average, and also trying to come closer to the living wage that has been identified for each region. Thank you. Next slide, please. So just wanted to cover a few slides on PDS Ventures. So PDS came up with a venture capital arm in 2018. So, this slide I just want to talk about, in the last 8-9 years, our industry has evolved a lot ever since Rana Plaza happened, back in 2011-12. So PDS, took a very tough stand on compliance, zero tolerance policy on ethical and social compliance. So, we made our supply chain completely transparent to our customers and invested a lot on transparency, compliance, corporate governance on, how our factories are operating, zero tolerance on subcontracting. They are the steps we took back in 2013. Then I talked about our own factories in 2016. We invested around $60 million in setting up the most modern and modern plant that also fit for the future. And then in 2017, we saw a trend, coming around the whole circularity of the fashion business and also sustainability becoming important. So PDS partnered with Yellow Octopus and invested the company in back in 2007, so which was pretty ahead of its time. And finally, in 2018, which is around 3 years ago, PDS invested in our own venture capital fund to look at innovation and newness coming in our industry. Because, being in a truly operating business ourselves, as a company, we are a fully operating company. So to get innovation, we thought having a venture arm will help us to achieve this goal. Next slide, please. Yeah. So why have we set up a venture capital arm? So PDS has allocated around $50 million of its own capital to invest in innovation and venture in the fashion industry. So we want to be on the forefront, bringing innovation both internally to our platform, companies on our platform, but also to our customers. So having this investment, is constantly bringing us newness, new ideas. And some of the companies we are investing are, coming from the top universities around the world. We're seeing some really smart people coming out of, university like Stanford, from Imperial College, Cambridge, coming with great ideas from the outside, seeing how they can disrupt the industry. So if you find those ideas having legs, PDS partners with them at the seed and the pre-series A stage, and make sure that, we are able to give them our industry knowledge and experience, so, they can move forward in the right direction. So it's basically to be on the forefront of the industry and bring in innovation both internally and externally. Next slide, please. Yeah. So we have three key investment themes in our venture fund. So one is around sustainability, which is around the UN development goal that we talked about in the slides earlier. Then also PDS is looking at, investing in a lot of digital first consumer brands, but most of the digital first consumer brands have some kind of sustainability or ethical angle to them. So, we are seeing that a lot of new consumers coming in the market today are looking for brands with a soul. So, with a storyline and soul. So PDS is trying to find those brands and invest with them early on in their journey. And finally, on technology, we're looking at businesses on retail tech and fashion tech. So, since the last 2.5, 3 years, we made around 50 investments so far. So probably in a month, 1 or 2 investments we are making when we find the right opportunities. So next slide, please. Yeah, so that just gives you a few of the portfolio companies. I'm really happy that a few of these portfolio companies are going to be today in this webinar talking and giving their feedback and also explaining their business model in a little bit more detail. So this was a little bit about me, about PDS and the PDS venture. And again, thank you very much for having us here. And Melanie, thank you for partnering with us on this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Pallak. Incredibly inspiring. And I think it'll be more so when we hear from some of these initiatives that have been invested in. So just to let you know that you can find all of the PDS group, so 8 group companies that can be found in the PDS hub on Co. One of our team will post that in the link so you can find it. So we have another 8, and I'm now going to pass on to Jack Ostrowski, who's our second speaker for today, who's going to tell us a little bit about Yellow Octopus.
Thank you, Tamsin. Thank you very much. And let me start with a little bit of sharing with you and everyone in the room that I'm really, really afraid of public speaking. Before pandemia, when I was on the stage and there was 200, 300 people, I've really struggled. And now I said, okay, I can hide now behind my computer screen and just talk. And then I'm seeing here on the Zoom all these participants commenting and stuff. And my heartbeat is like going, oh my God, like I'm going to faint. But yeah, I will try not to faint and tell you a little bit about Yellow Octopus. So if I could have the first slide, please. I could then, I can tell you like my story and the story of our partnership with PDS. So I started the Yellow Octopus back in 2006 when no one really knew how to spell the word sustainability. And we started initially with trading second-hand goods and then moved into stock exit solutions for the brands. We have a very long-standing partnership with Asda and George. Since 2010 really was the first time when we started to work on the stock exits, and we've supported Asda on a lot of initiatives. We've tried to be very innovative and come with solutions. What Yellow Octopus really is, if you think of PayPal, which is the one-stop shop for all the payment solutions, rather than going to different card providers, rather than going to different banks, you just go to PayPal and you integrate within one ecosystem where everything is possible for you. We try to think and build Yellow Octopus in this manner. So retailers, rather than look for different innovations in very different locations, can come to us and we can offer them everything what's related to post-consumer sustainability is going to be solved by us. We cover a number of things. We, like I said, historically, we assist retailers with stock exits, so excess inventory, customer returns, and things related to all the goods which are coming back from the stores. Second is take back. we've created the first digital take back in the world, Regain app, which is quite popular. And based on that, we've developed a number of solutions, tailor-made solutions for retailers. One of them being Take Back, which we launched with George, which I will talk about in a minute. Re-commerce solutions, as you know, the most advanced recycling option at this stage is just reusing your items. If we could reuse all our items, you know, we could limit the carbon footprint of every item quite significantly. Obviously, there is always end of life for all of us here and for all the products which we're using. But if we could prolong the life cycle of the products, that would be the best possible thing. Looking at innovative options of actually making new materials and new products out of waste is something which is very interesting to us. We developed the whole ecosystem of technology around sustainability, because we think if we want to scale sustainability, we really need to have technology as a tool to support this fast growth. And last but not least, impact investing. So together with PDS, we've created Circular Fashion Impact Fund, where we are actively looking for innovations in the space of circular fashion, where we can invest. And I would use a phrase, connect the dots, because at the moment, if you think about it, there is a lot of innovations out there. But if you're a retailer, if you're a brand owner, to get it all together and make sense out of it is incredibly, incredibly difficult. Some of these people are going to be startups. Some of these people will be talking about the things which are actually not verified, not audited, and you cannot really say if they do or not. And that's how Yellow Octopus is acting as a kind of an aggregator for everyone in this retail space and the brand space in the fashion world to come to us and get the solutions which, in our opinion, are practical, commercial, because that's important. You don't want to talk about ideas. You want to talk about the things which you can actually implement and make use of now, because the trend is here. Your customers are asking for asking you difficult questions. What are you doing? Where are you going with things? And we try to assist retailers with that. If I could have next slide, please. This is just a screenshot of our George Take Back program, which we developed together with ASDA, which is doing good on number of levels. It's diverting goods from landfill. It's engaging George customers into diverting goods from landfill and recycling items. George is donating the proceeds from the take back to their chosen charities. And obviously we saving the planet. Plus it makes sense commercially because it's an incentivized recycling scheme. We've done a survey on young UK consumers before we launched Regain app. And one of the things they said is, we asked them what would have to happen so you recycle your items, you don't throw them away. And they said, we would have to be incentivized and it would have to be easy. So that's what we are trying to do. We're trying to give them something for doing good, and we're trying to make it as easy, as hassle-free as possibly available. But I will probably, it's a little bit like if you brag about being a great partner for someone, you just sound silly. But if someone else says about you that you are a great partner, it makes more sense. So I will maybe leave for Melanie to say what she thinks about this partnership so far and how she sees that from the retailer perspective. And the last slide, please. That's in terms of building the bridge between now and the desirable future. Because one of the biggest problems of sustainability, which I'm seeing, is that people come, then they asking what's possible, what's out there. And if there is like not a from Z solution, they said, oh, okay, that's not good. Maybe, you know, we shouldn't be doing that. And we think that's not the case. We should be actually involved now in finding the solutions, even if they are not perfect. One of this, our recent investment is investment into the company, which historically was destroying goods for a luxury fashion sector. And now we want to implement that. And from the waste. And it's not only the waste which is coming from apparel, it's also from footwear, it's also from the packaging, pallets, everything else can be shredded into the powder, which then can be transformed into a homeware product, which can be retailed again. So it's an option of, because at the moment, it's not always so easy and possible to move directly into the fiber. However, we also invested into the company called Evernew, which is making amazing things with Levi's, Adidas, Stella McCartney on actually making new fabrics out of waste.
Thank you so much. Melanie, I'm conscious that we only have 10 at a push, 15 minutes of your time, and we really want to hear about some of the things you're doing. As Senior Director for Sustainability at George, the UK's second largest volume retailer of clothes, you have your work cut out for you. I'd love you to tell me, how does working with a supplier like PDS committed to sustainability make your work easier?
So first of all, thank you very much for having me. And Jack, yes, we absolutely do value you. You are on my list to talk about, so no worries there. I suppose a few things from me, really. If I think about everything that Pallak has talked about in his presentation, and actually I haven't seen that presentation before we got on this call, but those are everything that he's talked about is why, as a volume retailer, actually we would want to partner and work with PDS. You know, the partnership is really strategic. We make strategic decisions together. We work jointly together. But I think most of all, there is a huge amount of trust. And I think trust is a really, really important word. I think the whole pandemic, you know, my role used to be, I'd be on a plane sort of 7 times a year, in Bangladesh twice a year, China twice a year. You know, we can't do that anymore. We can't get on the ground. So actually having suppliers that we can trust both ethically to be doing what they say they're doing from a sustainability point of view is massively, massively important. And I think, and stop me because I could speak for a long time, so you stop me when you want me to stop. But I think from a sustainability point of view, you know, if you think back to that Stacey Dooley program, you know, whenever it was a few years ago, at that point, we didn't even have a sustainability team. And we've gone from having nothing sustainably sourced to 90% of our business, our shop floor, more sustainably sourced. And the reality is, whether that's around fibers, whether it's around packaging, whether it's around the transparency of our supply chain, we can only do that because I believe that we have the best supply base in the marketplace. Without those suppliers supporting us, we absolutely wouldn't be there. I think, you know, Pallak touched on kind of women in empowerment and ethical sourcing. And I guess because we partner with the best suppliers, I think, in the world, we've got 130 really, really strong factories that we partner with in Bangladesh. And because of our scale there, we've actually been able to open up, and we sponsor our own Hope School. So through Hope Worldwide, we actually sponsor a school out there. So, you know, not only do we work with our supply base, but actually we have 250 kids a year that go through that Hope School with a fantastic curriculum, UK curriculum as well as local country. And in addition to that, there are various things that go on a 3-monthly course basis that actually target adult learning as well, which actually gives amazing skills. So none of that, we wouldn't be able to do any of that without our supply base. And I think sometimes we talk about, you know, we all kind of come to conferences and we all hear about small, innovative niche businesses. And you know, sometimes the large scale volume retailers are kind of, you know, it can be quite, well, you know, you're the ones causing all the problems, you know, you're the ones that are manufacturing at scale, creating all the carbon emissions. But the reality is that actually it's that volume and scale that Pallak talked about, which actually allows consistency in factories. It allows a fair price to be actually paid to our workers. And that's what allows the factories to invest in sustainability. So we have a program now at George where we are able to look at and govern actually how do all of our, not just factories, but countries perform from a sustainability perspective. And Bangladesh, which is a least developed country, actually, it's the country that has the most investment into sustainability. And I think whether that's water, whether it's wind, whether it's carbon footprint, whether it's solar panels, and I believe that that's because if you look at most large-scale volume retailers, actually, there's a significant amount of manufacturing that's in those countries. So that's just one of those are just a few of the reasons that we believe that actually, partnering with PDS is so good for our business.
I think it's a great introduction and inspiring to some of the things that you can achieve through collaboration, through true collaboration between two of the largest businesses in the world. Do you want to tell us a little bit about 3D design and fit and what a difference that has made for you in relation to the environment and the impact you've had?
Yeah, so I think, everybody started talking about, buying from CADs, and then it got into 3D fits. And we have developed with PDS, there have been a couple of own brands that we've launched quite recently, which were all developed from scratch, actually through the 3D design process. And the reality is that, my challenge to our quality team is that why would we fit anything why would we do anything in reality anymore? Why wouldn't we do all of our fits on 3D? Because it takes about 6 weeks out of the process, which means that it's cheaper. You're not spending money on samples, and from a design point of view as well. And so it allows you to be more nimble, be more agile, take cost out of the process. And in addition to that, we've done a piece of work. We have a fabulous graduate working with us at the minute, and he's able to go and work things out that I can't work out because I'm not clever enough. But he's worked out that sending just one sample from Bangladesh actually would melt half a laptop's worth of ice. So if you imagine all the samples, we worked through all the samples just from a design point of view that we sent from Bangladesh to the UK in 2020. Potentially, that could have melted a small terraced house worth of ice. Now, if in the industry we all worked together and said, we're not sampling anymore, we probably would get lynched by the buyers. But outside of that, we absolutely can make a difference. Some of this is really, really within our gift. It's just driving change and going with it.
Thank you. While I've got you still in the room, and Pallak, I'd like to ask a question to both of you. How do you think, so the big one that everybody is, I'm sure, looking for answers to, how do we square volume production with sustainability? And what are the ways that we can maintain the positive impact of fashion production? So what you talked about, sustainable livelihoods for thousands of workers with the impacts of fashion production on the environment, everything from climate change to pollution to synthetic microfibers. I'd love to hear from both of you on your thoughts on that.
So I can give few feedbacks, we are a manufacturing company, we run our own factories. And we noticed that, when we are getting business from companies like George, which are volume retailers, which pay a fair price for what they source, they do open costings, which they make sure that the manufacturer is getting the profit required, getting the CMs required, so they're really looking at things in detail. It's a fair price for what you're getting. So as a manufacturer, making goods for volume retailers, you're actually able to make some profit at the end of the day. And if you're making profit, you can reinvest into making sure that your factories are going to be sustainable. They're going to have the ability to be future ready. And also customers like George are high on ethics and compliance, and some other volume retailers around the world. So they make sure that they're pushing the bar on raw material sourcing that come from sustainable source. The trims that are coming from sustainable source. So if the intent is there, that moves the whole industry forward. And if large volume retailers go in that direction, that makes a huge impact, because if the orders are coming, all the suppliers would like to get the business, and only way you get that business is making sure that you evolve your supply chain and become sustainable in the future. So just few comments from me, please.
Thank you. Melanie, any final points?
Yeah, I was just trying to take myself off mute, sorry. I think from a polyester perspective, and I had a session with our team yesterday. I guess the reality is, as a George business, 75% of our footprint is cotton-based. So, you know, our input and our footprint into polyesters is significantly less. But our commitment is that out of that footprint, whatever we have that's polyester, actually 30% of it will be recycled within that footprint. And we've kind of started with the really big areas. You know, we've started with things like schoolwear, where I think we were one of the first retailers to actually go out there last year and say that actually all of our schoolwear is more responsibly sourced. You know, there's 30% recycled fibers in all of the polyester product. So we're tackling some of the big things. It's not easy, and I would say we're absolutely not perfect. Nobody is perfect. But I guess by being a volume retailer and by partnering with the right suppliers, what our suppliers or our factories have been able to do is, where we know that we've got factories who are specific at manufacturing safe fleece. You know, we don't want to tell the world that they can't wear fleece dressing gowns or they can't wear fleece tops. But actually what we can do is we've made sure that our biggest factories have actually got ventilation systems that actually now will take away the fibers, you know, as the fabric is being made, to actually make sure that all those plastic particles, because all fibers will shed and cotton sheds as much as polyester, but it's the plastic in the polyester that gets back into the water in the dye houses. So actually by being a volume retailer, we're able to kind of make sure that not just our production, but actually other people's production can benefit from some of those investments.
Thank you so much. And I do think this is about collaboration, especially synthetic microfibers, but the volume issue as a whole and its impact on waste and on the environment is something that we need to tackle as an industry as a whole, both the pioneers and the entrepreneurs setting up solutions to it and the big businesses. And that's what excites me about this session, because we're bringing them together. And I think it's that collaboration that can potentially change things. We've got some interesting questions in the chat. Melanie, I know you probably have to move on, but if you are in the session anymore, there are questions in the chat. We'd love to have you as long as you're able. And I'm going to pass to Pallak with a couple of questions related to some of the things we've been discussing. I mean, Pallak, what are your recommendations for brands and retailers when it comes to solving the sustainability challenges? And related to that, how does this come into your plans for investment?
Yeah, so I think, Tamsin, you know, sustainability, like what you're doing in Common Objective, has to be an open platform discussion from all brands and retailers around the world. And we are seeing that happening. You know, unlike compliance, everyone was a bit cagey and wanted to do their own thing. But when it comes to sustainability, you know, people are talking to get together, coming in common platforms and finding solutions together. You know, there are bodies like Ella McCartney Foundation, Fashion for Good, which are great, you know, because they bring the industry think tank together and evolving sustainability in the right direction. So it's open source discussion, which is fantastic. Another thing, you know, when looking at sustainability, a bit like what George has done on the digital take back program as well, we have to look at sustainability from two angles. You know, what goes into store should come from a sustainable source, which is, you know, the raw material, the fabrics. The manufacturing plant should be sustainable. You know, they should be energy efficient. The washing plant that are being used should be, you know, having no zero water discharge. So what goes into the stores come from a sustainable source. And what leaves stores, you know, should become part of the circular economy, like the digital take back program that Yellow Octopus has developed and reflaunched, and, you know, making sure that the whole industry become regenerative. So that's really, you know, my suggestion, that, and a lot what we are seeing also certain retailers focusing on, especially Northern European retailers, you know, UK retailers, Scandinavian retailers are on the forefront of this journey. So making sure the industry becomes circular and regenerative in its nature. And the investments PDS is making, you know, around all of this is basically, you know, finding around material, what new innovation is coming, you know, in the factory plant, what kind of innovation is coming, and similarly on the regeneration side. So we find smart people, you know, coming from top universities, coming with ideas, looking from the industry from the outside, and then, you know, partnering with them and investing with them for the innovation that, you know, we can drive forward both internally and externally with our customers.
Thank you so much. So with that, we're going to move on to hear from some of the companies that you've invested in. So the PDS Innovation Hub is a platform on Co now where you can find all of the businesses that we're going to share. And later in this session, just after we've had presentations, we're going to have 3 breakout sessions where you can connect with some of these entrepreneurs, denim innovation, circular economy, where you can connect with Jack and some of the others, and innovation led by PDS Ventures, which is more about PDS and some of the other businesses they've invested in. So I'm going to pass to Andy, who's going to host this session so that we can hear from some of the entrepreneurs. And I just wanted to suggest that since I cut Jack off rather rudely to allow Melanie a chance to speak, perhaps we could give Jack a very short opportunity to finish what he was saying at the point at which we're talking about circular economy as well. Handing over to you, Andy. Thank you.
Of course, that would be great. Jack, if you just wait a second, we'll get to you in a minute. Thank you. So yeah, the first breakout is denim innovation. And Zamira are going to be in that breakout. And Thomas Muller is the managing director of Zamira, and he is now going to share more about denim innovation and Zamira.
Yes, hello everybody. I just make it very short. So in the breakout session, I will show how we have broken down sustainability into 6 core areas, key areas, 6 focus areas, and how we through innovation and through initiatives, we drive sustainability. Here is a concept of a biodegradable jean made out of organic cotton with hemp details, but not just the material. We also use plant me hang tags or hemp paper hang tags, Caroso buttons. I think there are some people on the chat as well to offer these trims, and we are using tensile thread. This is just one small example of an innovation that we have done, and I will give some more insights of how we tackle sustainability in denim.
Amazing, thank you, Thomas. I'm really looking forward to that breakout session. The second breakout session is circular economy, in which we have 3 outstanding businesses taking part. The first is Yellow Octopus. So Jack, that's another 60 seconds for you to explain a little bit more about Yellow Octopus, if you would like to take this opportunity.
I would say that it's not easy to put 17 years of hard work on sustainability into 5 minutes presentation. So I think we did quite well anyway. I'm not going to take 60 seconds now. What I would probably say is that our company motto, which we have on some of our trailers and in the office, is less bullshit, more good shit. So if you really want to hear more, just join us during our session. Thanks.
Superb. Thank you, Jack. Next up, we have Avenue, who are going to also be in that same breakout session. And Jack mentioned Avenue earlier. They're a Common Objective Award winner, and Avenue are a materials innovation company transforming textile waste into high quality fiber source used for textiles. And Stacey Flynn, CEO and founding partner of Avenue. If you'd like to unmute, we'd love to hear a little bit more. Thank you.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. So yes, Avenue, we are essentially converting textile waste into new fiber. And our real goal is to create garments that can be recycled. So that's our main body of work, is creating garments from what's currently perceived as waste and creating those materials in a way where they can be recycled. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And finally, in the circular economy breakout session, we've got Reflaunt. They bring resale as a service to brands and retailers, allowing them to easily get into the secondhand trade. Stephanie Crespin is here, CEO and co-founder of Reflaunt.
Good afternoon, everyone. So Reflaunt empowers brands and retailers with a solution to allow their own customers to resell in a click. So effectively, how it works is that we have a tech plugin that integrates in the backend or the e-commerce of brands and retailers. and any customer can come back to their account with all their historical purchases and click resell on any of their items that they've purchased with that retailer. Once they've done that, we broadcast the item and the listing across 25 marketplaces currently, but it could be 50, 100 marketplaces in the future simultaneously. And once the item is sold on one of these marketplaces, the customer receives his payment in cash or shopping credits to buy again with the brand or retailer. So basically, building out a circular model for the brand and retailer to own that part of the customer journey.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stephanie. Just to say that the links to these companies' business profiles are in the chat, so you can click on those and connect directly through their business profile on Common Objective. The third breakout session is called Innovation Led by PDS Ventures. And the three equally outstanding businesses who are going to be taking part in that session are Matera, who focus on better infrastructure to cope with climate volatility, dramatically improving resource efficiency and empowering farmers to make better decisions. Edward Briel, CEO and co-founder, we'd love to hear a bit more.
Hi, thanks, Andy. Thanks, everyone, for joining. So at Matera, like you just said, we help brands reduce their impact by developing resilient farm and intelligence systems which grow radically more sustainable cotton. So that means about 4 times less land is used per kilo, up to 80% less water. And as we all know, cotton has a pretty bad reputation of cotton agriculture with water, as well as being chemically intensive. So we're pesticide free. And we also reduce the carbon footprint by about 30% compared to global baselines. The resilient part is all to do with helping farmers grow these crops more reliably in the face of changing climates. So we're thinking reduced or increased rains and unpredictable temperatures.
Superb. Thank you very much. That's great. And next up, we've got Good On You, who are a Common Objective Award winner. Good On You is the most comprehensive brand rating system and online discovery platform for fashion, empowering shoppers to make a difference every time they shop. And Good On You's head of ratings, Christian Hardeman, it's great to have you here. We'd love to hear a bit more.
Yeah, hi everyone, and thanks for having me. So yeah, Good On You is really driven by the very real need that consumers want to shop more ethically, but don't have the tools to do so. And estimates have that anywhere north of 60% of consumers do want to shop more ethically, but they don't have the tools. And that can manifest itself in, I guess, a couple of different ways. One is, and this is particularly relevant for a few years ago, is that brands were simply not being transparent about what they were doing. And so consumers were getting frustrated because they didn't have any information to hand. Over the last couple of years, we've seen a different thing where brands are now disclosing an awful lot more information, but at the same time, in the case of some brands, the amount of greenwash is also coming up, which is leaving consumers even more confused and don't necessarily know which brands to trust. So Good On You solves this problem via our Good On You ratings methodology. Our ratings methodology looks at a number of very material issues across environment, labor, and animals, and looks at several hundred data points for each brand rating. Brands receive a 5-point score from us, and consumers can easily access it. We rate currently about 3,000 fashion brands, and with the aims to scale it up so that consumers can either find out how the brands that they shop rate and what their practices are, and we can drive improvements in those larger brands, and also to help consumers find smaller, more ethical alternatives as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Christian. That's superb. Finally, in this third breakout session, we will have Unspun. They're a robotics and digital apparel company building custom jeans for each consumer on demand. And we're delighted to have Walden Lamb, CEO and co-founder of Unspun, here with us today.
Yep, thank you so much. Actually, in the spirit of partnership, we're rated on Good On You, so grateful for the partnership. So we're Unspun, San Francisco, Hong Kong-based company dedicated to creating an on-demand supply chain. Our first product to the market is denim jeans, so customers from around the world can scan on the iPhone and create custom denim jeans and have their products delivered to them within 2 to 2.5 weeks. We're also inventing the 3D weaving machine. So from a material standpoint, we can take yarns, and create the garments in a virtually from a material standpoint close to zero waste process. Great to be here. Look forward to the breakout session.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for really concise, clear presentations of your businesses. Breakout sessions are going to be a really great opportunity to delve a bit more into your business and to have more dialogue. So I'll hand back to Tamsin, who's going to get us going with the breakout sessions.
Thank you so much. And a reminder to everyone that you can find all of these businesses in the PDS Innovation Hub on Co. And watch this space, because there's going to be some other exciting stuff being launched in the hub, including some training and an awards scheme, which we'll tell you a bit more about. But let's move on to the breakouts. So we're going to run these breakouts until 5:55, because we're slightly over time, to give us a little bit of time. So all the hosts take note, they'll go on till 5:55. At that point, people are thrown back into the main room. So it's an opportunity for you to choose which session you would like to be in. You can also move between sessions. And in those sessions, we will allow anyone can unmute, you can speak, you can ask questions, you can find out more from each of these entrepreneurs. So I'm going to pass over to Ellie. If I could just say that the denim innovation breakout will be led by Andy, as well as Thomas Mueller, who you heard from. In circular economy, you'll meet Jack and some of the other entrepreneurs in that session, and Laurent from our team. And I'll be joining Pallak in innovation, led by PDS Ventures with Matera, Good On You, and Unspun. So if I could pass to Ellie to tell you a bit more about how the process works, and I'll see you in breakout room 3. A warm welcome to everybody back into the main room. I hope that you found those sessions helpful. We now have 5 minutes to tell you a little bit about what's coming next. So we have 3 big events coming up. First of all, we're going to be running Co-Expo again in March next year. So we're looking for input and we're looking for participants. If you have ideas, if you'd like to be a part of it, we are looking for partners also, so that we can increase impact and grow what we're trying to do with Common Objective. Closer, happening in November on the 25th, we're going to be running an event called Brand Leaders, where we're going to be putting the spotlight on businesses that are succeeding, so large and small, that have found ways to integrate sustainability with great products that are selling well. We'll learn the inside information from the leaders on what they're doing and how they're doing it. And lastly, the Co-Awards. Now, we've mentioned this to a few of you. At the end of October is our deadline for applicants to the Co-Awards. Anybody can apply. All you need is a business profile on Co. That is your application to the awards. And we have rather than having a limit to the number of awards, we have a target to hit and hopefully exceed for the number of businesses that achieve our leadership standard. So if one of the Co team could post the link to the Co Awards in the chat, you can see a bit more about those. We have 6 leadership criteria, and we will be announcing the Co 10, the 10 businesses that have achieved the highest leadership award criteria at Brand Leaders. This is really all about showcasing best practice, sharing what others have achieved, avoiding people in their own room reinventing the wheel, and finding ways how we as an industry can move things forward. I also wanted to share that we will be partnering with PDS on the awards this time. So you've heard a little bit about the businesses they've invested in so far. They're really committed to furthering innovation, and we'll be working with them through the awards to address that. And finally, we are also looking at developing some content with PDS. I think this is representative of how much the organization, the business, is committed to driving change in the industry. We're going to be developing some training that will support businesses, large and small, to integrate sustainability across all their operations and support collaboration. Pallak, did you have any final words to share before we end the session?
I think, Tamsin, thanks for giving us the opportunity to partner with Common Objective. You guys are the leading platform on, the circularity, sustainability in our industry. And, we are glad to be part of the journey from the beginning of, the foundation of your company as well, and seeing how the business has evolved, and, hope to work together in the next few years and, hopefully decades to come to evolve our industry and meet all the challenges that we face together. So thank you for giving the opportunity again.
And thank you to all our other speakers and the inspiring entrepreneurs, Thomas and Melanie. Even just this event and the work that we did in the lead up to it gave us a whole lot, catalyzed a whole lot of opportunities for the ways that we can work together. So I hope that we can do much more of this. Collaboration, I think, is the only way that we can achieve wide-scale change in the industry. Thanks to all. Again, do visit the PDS Innovation Hub to find out more about those exhibitors and to connect with PDS. Any of the profiles on Co, we're a bit like our LinkedIn for sustainable fashion. You can connect with the founders, you can message them, you can bookmark them, and you can also find a whole lot of resources. We'll be posting more in the hub, but you can find them in the exhibitor hub, where we've posted resources that are especially relevant to Co-Expo. And finally, to say that we have recorded this session, and so if you'd like to have a recap, we'll be sending further information around about that and what's coming next. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.